Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Sword Art Online Alicization anime review. This one's going to be for episode 18.5, which is called Recollection. And yeah, it was a recap episode. I don't think when I recorded the video last week I was aware that it was just flat out a recap episode, but I found out fairly quickly afterwards that it was going to be the whole 0.5 episode thing. So at least they're not taking up a full episode slot here. This is literally just a filler episode, a recap episode, because it's given the 0.5 kind of designation. But even within that, there's always some hope for a recap episode of it being able to be fun or insightful in some way, because usually you have some form of narration. You have the characters talking to each other about the past, so you have reactions to certain events and stuff like that. That's what they do when they try to be a little bit more adventurous with recap episodes. This, unfortunately, was more on the side of just, put as little effort as possible into it. Kirito does some really, really basic narration over it, but in general, this whole episode is literally just clips from the show, with Kirito kind of acting as the transition between them. Alice gives no reaction to any of this, but I suppose that's what they're saving for the start of next episode, which is, we are getting a proper episode next week, episode 19, and we'll get Alice's reaction to finding out the truth of the world and how she takes it. So, in that sense, the one thing I think that's going for the recap episode here is just that logically it made sense that, what was happening here is Kirito recounting his experience of the world, so it did make sense that for this episode to happen here. Now, if they weren't deciding to do this, usually another show would just be like, I'll tell you what happened, and then they cut to the aftermath of, it implied that he's told her this, but we weren't shown on screen the explanation being told. Instead, we cut to immediately the reaction, because, you have to show the character reacting to the explanation being told to them. But, they decided to do it here. I think this would have worked just a tiny bit better if they just had Alice's voice actress, make some comment at least one point in this story. One point in what they showed. The other kind of, I suppose, major criticism I'd have is that they didn't show Selka at any point in the recap, even though Selka was the thing that led to Kirito needing to basically explain this to her. Now, again, I guess that's the important emotional thing for her that has basically opened her up a little bit to being told this story. You probably, again, want to save the actual reactions and emotions for next episode, but it was odd that it just skipped past that, and then you had moments like Kirito even feeling the need to recap scenes that she herself was in, including oh yeah, and then we were blown out the side of the wall, and that's why we're here, even though she knows exactly what happened. So it was just a recap episode. There's, as I said, there's types of recap episodes. This was the filler type of recap episode, where it really is just to kind of give the animation team a break. They kind of, I suppose for the most part, got a week off, and that all that kind of had to be done here was some editing of clips, and then the new lines from Kirito's voice actor, and that's the episode. And it gives them a week to, I suppose, work on the remainder of the episodes for the, I think, up until episode 25, 26, which will be the halfway point, because I think they confirmed that we are going on a little bit of a break when the second core of animation ends, and then we'll start up, I suppose, the second half of Alicization after a break. So this is them, I suppose, building up to, in a way, the finale of the first part of Alicization, where there's some really big stuff that's going to happen. That's where they need the animation to hit home really hard. So in that sense, if us getting through this week with a weak episode, a very weak episode that you really don't need to watch, I'm fine if it makes the remaining episodes better. If they make the big fights at the end as good as they can be, this will all have been worth it. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the recap. I can't criticize it too much because we knew it was a recap, but it wasn't even that good of a recap as well. so that's that. As for the English dub, the first episode aired last week. It was a bit late. I think it aired later because it airs at nighttime in America, and I'm in Ireland, so I would have been like recording a video like in the middle of the morning to react to it. But that's why I'm doing it now. But so yeah, we got the double length first episode of Alicization here, and with the English dub. Now, I don't know if you guys know my history with it, but what got me into Sword Art Online in the first place was watching it initially in the dub in the anime of the first season. And from there, I got in, watched SAO2, got into the light novels, watched Ordinal Scale, all that sort of stuff, to the point kind of where I am now, watching Alicization as it's coming out in the sub. But I was really waiting for the dub. Like, if they had managed to get the kind of simulcast thing, I'd be reviewing the dub if I could. I don't really tend to have any major issues with watching subs, but I get a whole lot more out of watching a dub just because I can understand the voice actors and just their emphasis on specific parts of what they're saying. The emotion kind of, I can kind of feel it a little bit more, whereas I think with the Japanese audio, you get the main emotions when like the character is like screaming or something like that, or when they're crying. But just in terms of like explanations and stuff like that, I felt like it came across a bit smoother to me as like an English language speaker. Watching it here in the dub, like the explanation of like flux lights, soul translator and stuff like that, it was a bit kind of easier to understand. And this is coming from someone who's read the books as well, so I'm used to like what the explanation actually is. But I liked how they did it in the dub and kind of went about translating it, making the language feel natural and so on. So I think in that sense, the dub was a definite success. And seeing, the return of all the voice actors you're so used to, Kirito Asuna, the emotional scenes from the first episode were super well done. And especially like going back to the first episode and you get so much of the cast, like it's easy to forget that like we had like Silica, Lisbeth, Klein, Sinon in like the early episodes, at least for a little bit. And now, like, it's Kirito, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Alice and all these characters, and, like, we haven't really seen a lot of the other characters for a while, so it was nice to go back and just, like, get those kind of English voices for those characters, and I thought it was really, really well done. And then, like, there was fun stuff as well, like, I was wondering, like, in the English dub, how are they going to do stuff like the system call commands? Like, are they going to direct the English voice actors to kind of say them in an interesting way? Because the idea of the system commands is that it's the series is meant to be set, of course, in Japan, so the characters read Japanese, and so they don't necessarily understand the English dialogue. Now Kirito does because he's a gamer, but all the inhabitants of the underworld think of it as basically a magical language, and there has to be the sort of intent behind that. And obviously in the Japanese, you definitely get that sense because it's Japanese voice actors, some of them who may not be fluent in English, kind of just reading out English dialogue. So, the way they speak it almost sounds like, they're speaking some sort of a magical language. Whereas here, the way they did it was more that they had the character just slightly robotically say the, generate luminous element type thing, in that they weren't just reading it like as just normal English like they were able to, but just, they know what the command is, they're saying it, and they're saying it as if like, yeah, these are kind of magical words that I don't exactly know the meaning to, but they go together and make this thing happen. So I was kind of wondering if they'd try and do anything specific with that, like would they go as far as to like have them like speak Japanese, maybe like the system call generate element in Japanese, but the English voice actors saying that. But that might have been a bit overly complicated, given the idea of it being meant to be sort of computer speak and stuff like that from code and so on. So beyond that, we didn't get we got to see, I suppose, young Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't actually check if it's the same voice actor who's doing kind of young Yu-Gi-Oh! From this first episode and the others. I think I got the impression it was the voice actor trying to do a slightly more kind of peppy, energetic, kind of to make it more youthful. So we still have to wait to see in the next episode, I suppose, teenage adult Yu-Gi-Oh! And see what the voice sounds like for a full episode. But in general, I like the new cast. It all sounds really good. I think they have some slightly newer voice actors who don't have as many roles. I think they've chosen for these characters, which I definitely appreciate. I get the frustration at times with English dub stuff where it's just like, oh, it's the same voice actors doing nearly every character. So I kind of like that they've made a little bit of a different kind of choice here with like Yu-Gi-Oh's, here with us here, so let's have a different voice that we haven't had before. Let's give Alice a sort of different voice. So I think they did a good job overall with that. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to end the video there. As I said, I really like the English dub, and it just was nice after doing these reviews for like 18, 19 weeks now. It was nice to go back and kind of remember the dub and what it sounds like, because I haven't watched it in a while. So that was something nice to see. I'll probably put in a brief update in my future reviews for like the subbed episodes. I'll still of course continue to do them, and I'll put in a brief update probably about where the dub is, my thoughts on some of the voice acting, how they chose to do things. Probably won't be too much. It'll probably be like under a minute per video, but I do want to follow that because the dub for me is really, really good for SAO. So I think that kind of helped this week, that at least with a not really a full episode here, at least there's something as a Sword Art Online fan to do, in that you can always go back and watch the first episode in dub and see what that sounds like. So that definitely helped things out. But yeah, we're getting into a more important episode next week. Episode 19, what's it called? Seal of the Right Eye. We obviously know exactly what that is. The recap, again, showed us Kirito's seal of the... Yu-Gi-Oh's Seal of the Right Eye. And obviously this is implying Alice's Seal of the Right Eye. So more eye-popping coming up. So I guess we have to look forward to that. But it's going to be eventful, because we know the significance of it. What's going to cause Alice to get a system error? What rule is she going to have to break to cause, the seal to break? So that's going to be a very, very interesting thing to see next time out. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.